It is Monday morning here, and I wanted to get into some things that I watched over the weekend on Netflix that was really, really disturbing. Which I know I got to get my coffee first before I talk about this. So let's head to the kitchen, right? Just want y'all to see what I gotta deal with, when you have a newborn in your house now. Just baby stuff just be everywhere. Breast pumps, swings, walkers, you name it, it's here. All right, so let's get into this coffee this morning. So we're gonna talk about personalities today, okay? So let's turn the camera around and get it on the move. So since we're talking about personalities today, I figured I drink out of this cup, Sagittarius. I'm feeling a little sash today. So we're gonna put this on, let that water get hot. And oh, let me tell y'all. So when I was in SA, every Airbnb that I typically go to has this coffee in there, right? So, but they have it in a single serve. And this coffee was amazing. Now, I already said my coffee has to be the color of my skin. But as a child growing up with my grandmother, she always instilled in me the importance of drinking actual straight black coffee. But I could never get into it. She would put her coffee in she would make it would be in a little pot, a little red pot, um, similar to this. So every time I see this little pot, I think about my granny, right? So nonetheless, in her house always smelled like coffee. It was the best feeling, best smell in the world. So anyhow, so when I came home, after drinking this in South Africa, I wanted to have my own, but I bought it from a store called Clicks in the mall by the Tier Airbnb where I stayed while I was there. This instant coffee is amazing. Okay, do you hear me? Let's get into Jacobs. So put maybe like a spoon or two into it. And then I don't really have to put, let me stick this up here so you guys can see, much sugar or anything into it. Let the coffee run. Let me get my spoon. 1 second. As y'all can see, I'm feeling a little pink today. We're going to get us a little pink stir. Okay. All right. So, got the little sage mug. Tad bit of the Jacobs in there. Stir it up. Now, I'm not like my grandmother yet. She didn't put no coffee, no creamer, no sugar, nothing. I know she said the best way to drink it is black, but I'm not there yet. So I'm gonna go ahead on and get into this light single serve brown sugars that I bought from Woolworths when I was in South Africa. Okay. So we're gonna put our sugars in there. Stir it up. All right. Then we're gonna get into these ducks. Okay. Now, let me tell y'all what's been going on with these ducks. These players, the Kardashians, aka, are now down to 4. Let's see what's going on. All right, I'm gonna turn this camera around. My hand's a little wet, so it's getting difficult for me to turn the camera around. Okay, so let's get into the Kardashians real quickly. So I've already fed them once this morning because they was across the street in the neighbor's yard acting like they homeless and have no food. So see, they not running towards me this morning because I didn't feed them once already. But needless to say, I only have 4 now. Now the one that's missing, her name was Robin. She was one of the first crew that I had. All right, don't be following me acting like y'all hungry. Uh, Batman and Robin. So Robin died. I think it was Robin. She's not here anymore. She was the smallest one. So I don't know if they killed her, because you know they savages, or if somebody came and stole her to cook her. I just don't know, friend. But let's get to these eggs right here. Do you see this? Look at these eggs. Now, typically, they're supposed to sit on these eggs for about 28 days, almost about 22 to 23 hours out of the day. They come out to eat, and then they go sit back on the eggs. Friend done abandoned the eggs. The eggs just chilling. So they probably won't turn into little ducklings. And I just can't bring myself to eat no duck eggs yet. Okay, but that's that. So let's get into this Jeffrey Dahmer situation. Okay. So I don't know if a lot of you know who Jeffrey Dahmer is. Jeffrey Dahmer was a savage. He was a cannibal. Okay. He was psychologically off his rocker, to say the least. But not to get on here and crucify him. The bigger issue is what happens to a child psychologically to make you want to eat people. I just can't get into it. So let's just take it back to his connection to Louisiana, which I didn't know he had. So apparently, last night I watched the first episode. I could not even sit through the whole thing. I called myself, fixing myself some dinner, had a little smothered cabbage, some oven fried chicken, little honey cornbread, and some yams. So I said, I'm gonna fix my dinner, I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna eat. I couldn't finish my plate because I couldn't eat while this was playing. It was just too nauseating. Okay? And let that noise pass. So, needless to say, the guy, and this I may be wrong, but the guy from the first episode was actually from Louisiana here. So I watched the actual trial footage when this guy testified, and then I saw it again last night, the actual portrayal of it, which was quite different because during the trial the guy said that he wasn't a homosexual at all, but the series depicts him as a homosexual, which I don't care one way or the other. But for the context of his story, his sexuality is important because a lot of the people that he lured were homosexuals, right? So he would hang out in the club. But nonetheless, Jeffrey Dahmer was a cannibal that was psychologically disturbed. He had a rough upbringing. And let's see, he died maybe around 1994 or whatever. They had sentenced him to like, I don't know, 930 something years in jail. That's about maybe 18, 19 life sentences. Because they found human remains in his house. He had a couple of hearts in his freezer, all packaged in some nice sandwich bags. Hearts, skulls. He had a big old crate with acid in it, where he was putting bones and remains in. And he had a horrible smell coming from his apartment that this neighbor kept complaining about, but nobody would ever follow through. So nonetheless, he goes to a club one night and he lures these, he connects with these guys that are in a club. In the movie, it was a homosexual club. It was a gay club. And everybody involved was gay. But again, in the trial, the guy denies that he's a homosexual. So, nonetheless, he tells them that he's going to buy them some drinks, some very expensive drinks. And would they like to come back to his apartment and take pictures because he's a photographer? Red flag number one. Ooh, there's some good coffee. Ooh, yes, aside he did. He killed it. I was getting ready to say that because y'all know my good brother aside then came on. I didn't find where there was a Caucasian presence in the amount of people that he killed. I saw there was some black. I saw it was one of them was Indian looking. But again, I've not watched the whole series and I don't know the whole story about the good Jeff Dahmer. But what I do know is it made my stomach hurt. All right. So I mean, to the point where I was gagging. So finally, this guy from Louisiana, he escaped him. So he brought him back to back up. They were at the club. One of the three men agreed to come back with him, which was this guy from Louisiana. They go to the club. They go to his apartment. Immediately when they open the door, the guy recognizes a horrible smell. Red flag number 2. Ooh, this coffee gets better and better. It's black, just black coffee. He asks him about the smell, and then he gives some off the wall explanation about he loves pork chops, and his family sent him a bunch of pork chops, and he put them in a freezer and forgot to plug the freezer up so the meat went bad, right? So the guy's like, hey, why don't you open up the doors or the windows? Oh no, I don't want to open up the windows because I don't like people in my business and it's too much noise, so on and so forth. Oh goodness. Then it starts to get interesting. He asks him, he says, oh, well, so when we're going to take the pictures or what have you? He said, well, first we're going to go in the room. We're going to watch a movie. He was fascinated with The Exorcist. He kept it on repeat. Red flag number 3. I don't know how many red flags you need, but they say the love of money, the money is the root of all evil. This guy thought he was going to get paid. In the movie, it said $50, but during the trial, the guy said he offered them $100 to come to his house and take pictures with him, right? Take pictures for him. He had a little Kodak camera and everything. Picture come out right then and there. So nonetheless, he offers him some beer, which he takes, and the beer is laced with something. I'm not sure exactly what he laced it with, but it was laced with something. He poured the beer in a cup. Red flag number 4. You drinking from the can and I'm drinking from a cup. It's not worth it. Not for $100. So long story short, he ends up throwing handcuffs on him. Right? So he put the handcuffs on him and the guy's like, hey, what the hell going on here? What you doing? So it starts to gradually get worse by the second. So he handcuffs him and put a knife to him. The guy in the trial said it was more like a machete, but I guess for the purposes of the movie, it wasn't a machete. It was really looked like something like an old butcher knife. Now, mind you, this guy has drills all around his apartment, all kind of tools. The drill got blood dripping out of it. I mean, it was just ridiculous. So he lures him into the room where he tells him, the guy's like, well, I thought you wanted me to take pictures and blah, blah, blah. Oh, we're going to watch movies first, drink a little bit, and then we're going to take the pictures. The guy's like, nah, I'm not feeling this. I'm ready to go. I'm about to leave. So then Jeffrey clicks. Why does everybody want to leave me? Oh my God. So the guy's like, what you mean leave you? Nonetheless, it got so sticky, the guy just started to play into the role of being a homosexual and posing and doing all of this stuff for him just to save his own life. So he's asking, he's like, I'm not going to leave you. So they're sitting down and they're watching TV and just all kind of stuff. So they lay down. Red flag. What flag we on? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I done lost count. Too many flags. Enough flags to cover every country in this world. And Jeff lays on his chest and listens to his heartbeat. Now me, I like me a good little cuddle session, right? Haven't had one in a while, but we all could benefit from a little cuddle session. But if you lay on me and listen to my chest and tell me how good my heartbeat sound and how you gonna eat my heart, we're about to have a man down situation, right? Now I done had my heart ate a couple of times. Figurative, figuratively speaking. I'm sorry, I got this retaining at the top of my mouth on the inside. Um, but to actually physically want to eat somebody's heart, OMFG, right? So, long story short, the guy gets away. He gets away by hitting him in the head with a bunch of objects that he found in the guy's apartment. And he runs and runs and runs in the middle of the street, no shirt on, with handcuffs hanging from his hand, one of his wrists. He runs into some police. Immediately, they were ready to handle him like he had committed a crime. But we'll get to that on another live. So he gets down on his knees when the police sees him, and the police are like, "What's going on? Are you drunk? Did you commit a crime? Put your hands behind your back, blah, blah, blah." Guys frantically trying to tell him that this man just tried to kill me. So he gets them to believe him. They go back to their apartment. They knock on the door. The good Jeff comes to the door like nothing ever happened. Psycho. But he leaves the chain on the door so they can only peep in. They ask him, "Hi, are you Jeffrey Dahmer?" He said yes. um do you know this guy? Yeah. He goes on to tell the police, "I know him. We were playing gay games, taking pictures and blah blah blah." So the officer's like, "Hey, well, do you have the key to these cuffs?" And the guy said, "Yeah, I have it. I think it's in the room somewhere. Let me go find it." So he tries to close the door, but the police stop him from closing the door. "Hey, do you mind if we come in?" Sure. He lets them in. Police come in. Automatically, they smell the odor. They're looking around. They're seeing all kind of stuff. They go into the drawer in the bedroom to get the key, and in that drawer with the key are several Polaroid pictures. Let's get into these pictures. There were pictures of African American men in very compromising positions. And when they got down to the last one, they noticed that it was bleeding. Now, if you watch the first episode, you'll see that Jeffrey Dahmer has the guy from Louisiana laying on a mattress. The mattress has a very huge, large, old blood stain in it. He didn't try to hide it or anything, right? So, long story short, they start noticing all this stuff, yada, yada, yada. And they're like, "Hey, something's not right with this." And he's like, looking at the picture, he's like, "This is real." So then they go and they start to try to arrest him. So they arrest him, and in the process of arresting him, of course, the nosy lady next door, who had been calling the police all along about him, she reminded me of the lady that used to sit in the window on 227. They handcuff him. He's on the floor. They take him out, and then here come the good part. Not the not so good part. They go in and he has human remains all over his apartment. Hearts prepared to be eaten in the freezer, organs, skulls, bones, you name it, it was there. So he goes to jail. Only person he could call on was his daddy. So then when the daddy gets involved, the story kind of takes a turn and they revert back to Jeffrey's childhood. Now, during his childhood, his mother and his father lived with him. They had a very tumultuous relationship. They argued. He watched his mama curse his daddy out, blah, blah, blah. His mama always knew something wasn't right about him. His daddy just considered him weird. But let me tell y'all something. If my child gets excited about dissecting roadkill, and if y'all know what roadkill is, you're driving and you see these dead rodents, ducks. It could be a duck, a possum, a raccoon, an armadillo, a deer, whatever. That's roadkill. They got hit on the road. Him and his dad was actually with him. They would stop and pick up the roadkill and bring it home, put it in the garage and dissect it. And the dad encouraged this only because he felt like it was the only thing that his weird child expressed an interest in. I think we on red flag number 27 right about now, right? So you also find that during the pregnancy, when the mom was pregnant with him, she took a lot of pain medication, drugs, barbiturates, um, and that could have possibly affected him. And then the dad says that he went in to have a hernia repair as a child, and after he had the hernia repair, he was never the same. Friend, I'm gonna take 2 sips on this one. Poor child was doomed from the womb. Do you hear me? He was doomed from the womb. Ain't have nothing to do with no hernia repair. Okay? Mama was a drug addict. I don't know what daddy was doing. He seemed like he wanted to be a part of the child's life, but just things didn't work out. So anyhow, they when he was arrested, I know I'm all over the place with this story, but this is how it was presented in the movie. They were going from scene to scene, time zone to time zone, skipping all over the place. So they bring the dad in to let the dad know what was going on. Dad had no idea what the police was about to tell him, or he claimed he didn't, about his child. When they called him, they told him that his son was being questioned for murder. So the dad questioned about a murder. So the dad is thinking he's coming to the police station to talk to them about somebody trying to kill his son. And then they tell him that no, in fact, your son is the killer. So they tell his dad that his son is being held for an innumerable amount of murders, and started to give the dad specifics. And after they broke everything down, they left him in the room by himself so that I guess he could process everything that he had just been told. Poor little daddy just started crying and just broke down. But I thought this topic was very, very important because this month was Mental Health Month. And mental health is a real serious issue, especially most recently because of COVID, people losing their jobs, stress. Some people just are not prepared to handle stress. But there's different types of mental illnesses. And any number of things can cause mental illnesses, right? So when you see those warning signs in your children, I mean, even for the mom, when she was pregnant, I don't even think and I don't want to make this assumption about her, but it appeared that she was not really concerned about the pregnancy. She just wanted to be able to take these pills for whatever reason. She just kept saying, I just can't wait for this to be over with so I could get back to my life. Talking about the pregnancy. But she knew her son was sick. She said it in the movie. But what do you do as a parent when you start recognizing these signs that your child might be suffering from some type of mental illness, irregularity? He not so normal, weird. There's a difference between weird and having a mental illness. We have people that's socially awkward or whatever. That's just our personality, our characteristics trait. But this situation, this was more than a weird, okay? And I felt like the dad unintentionally fed his child's mental illness by encouraging him to pick up these rodents off the road, this roadkill, and dissect them, right? Sick. Do you hear me? Sick. Oh, and it actually started with the mom noticed a smell in the house, and they discovered it was a dead I don't know if it was a raccoon. Something was dead in the under the house, and they found it. And the good Jeff Dahmer was excited about this. He was playing with the bones of the rodent that they found in the freaking basement of their house. He would have immediately had to go seek treatment. Um, and I know everybody's not perfect, and there's no book on parenting. You do what you can for your children. You try to give them the best life that you can give them. Um, and you can only do what you can do, right? But I feel like both the parents knew that something was wrong with their child and did not do anything on his behalf to help him out. So in essence, I feel like they helped create this monster, right? They brought him here and they fed the monster. Now the monster acting like a monster and they acting surprised. So are we raising monsters? Are we grooming our children to be monsters? Are we grooming them to be savages? Something has to be said about a child who think it's okay to play with dead animals, dissect them, and you find joy in that. Not from a scientific, I'm a sci-tech groupie or whatever perspective, but you actually enjoy dissecting roadkill. You can't bring that in my house. I don't even like roaches. Come on, people. What are we doing? We setting our children up for failure. For failure. So nonetheless, I didn't even get past episode 1. Because the images and the scenes were so vivid that it was just nauseating. You could see their bodies lying on his apartment floor. You can see when they went in the refrigerator and pulled out human hearts and organs out of this man's refrigerator. And the smell was so horrible. I mean, how this was a massive failure on so many levels, including the police. So I guess the bigger issue is, what do you do when you recognize that something is just not right about your child, right? Y'all chime in, let me know. And remember, God is always in the details. Um, and keep your hearts safe. It's a cold world out here. Peace.